Bizarre Brain Comics. Hello, my comic book friends, and welcome to Bizarre Brain Comics. I'm Gary, your host. And this is where I like to take a look at some older comics, talk a little bit about the characters and creators, and examine the stories and the art. Okay, this time, I want to take a look at this from 1978. It's from DC, the all-new collector's edition, Superman versus Shazam, written by Jerry Conway with art by Rich Buckler and Dick Giordano. This is a fun book. It's a 72-page super action novel, When Earths Collide. Yeah, when Earths collide, and it's actually a fairly quick read. This is, of course, tabloid sized, 1978, when those were a thing. Both Marvel and DC and a few other publishers produced a whole bunch of comics this size. Sometimes they're called treasury editions because, well, that's what Marvel called theirs. But they're actually tabloid size. You know, the about the size of a tabloid newspaper. And remember, this is 1978, in the Bronze Age, well before Crisis on Infinite Earths, in which the entire DC universe was rebooted. And when they had Earth 1, which was inhabited by Superman and the Justice League of America, etc. It had Earth 2, Earth 3, Earth this, Earth that, Earth the other thing. And on Earth S was inhabited by Shazam, the Marvel family. Now, I wanted to mention this because people are well aware of the Superman family of characters and the Batman family of characters, and boy, the Batman family has really grown. But decades before we had those, we had the Marvel family. Captain Marvel and Company, Shazam, was originated from Fawcett, and Fawcett created Captain Marvel. C.C. Beck created Captain Marvel for Fawcett. I think it was probably 39, and it was of course inspired by the success of Superman from 1938. Except he was magically based, etc., etc. And through the 40s and the early 50s, Captain Marvel expanded. He got Captain Marvel Jr. And Mary Marvel, who is Billy Batson, who becomes Captain Marvel, his sister. Of course, now they're all just known as Shazam because of legal problems with Marvel and their Captain Marvel and stuff. So they finally said, to heck with calling him Captain Marvel, he's just Shazam. And but before that, there were long legal battles between DC and Fawcett, which lasted for years, right up until Fawcett finally gave up the ghost and just decided to cancel the Captain Marvel titles because they finally were losing sales. But at its peak, Captain Marvel for Fawcett outsold Superman, and they had a long copyright infringement battles, legal battles for years and years. Then in, what was it, 72, 73, DC acquired the characters from Fawcett, or I should say, acquired the Fawcett characters, and brought them into the fold. Primarily, of course, the Marvel family, but they even had the Ibis and Bullet or whatever. I can't remember all those characters, and they all joined the DC family, DC universe, in one form or another. Okay, so here is 1978, and this is the first time Superman and Shazam, Captain Marvel, go head to head. Now because remember, they were on different Earths. There was one instance that was sort of like that. They had a story of Superman versus Captain Thunder, which was a blatant Captain Marvel ripoff from another Earth, but that was the only time he ever showed up, and that was because they didn't, it was kind of like feeling the waters and stuff, and of course that was all some kind of mix-up and the result of some villain. Now here we have, of course, Superman and Shazam going head to head as a result of a villain's influence, but like I said, they had the families, but it also brings in Mary Marvel and Supergirl. And it's their job in the story to clean up the mess. And of course, like most of these stories, there's always let's have some kind of misunderstanding, mix-up, or influence of a villain to bring these heroes to blows. And then there'll be some realization, understanding what's going on, and then they wind up teaming up to defeat the villain. Well, that happens here too, except it's primarily Superman and Shazam going to blows, and the girls having to straighten things out and defeat the villain. So that's good. And it's a really nice artwork by Richard. I think it was a well-crafted story. I mean, of course, it's somewhat juvenile, but what do you expect for 78? Very well drawn. I think it's a fun story. It was basically like Hen and Jerry Conway make Superman and Captain Marvel fight, and he had to craft a story around that. And then the artists, Rich Buckler and Dick Giordano doing the inks, did a very commendable job. And the colorists, letters, all, often don't get mentioned as much, but everybody in the production did a good job. And of course, Rich, it looks a lot like Neil Adams' work, because Rich Buckler's own style was influenced by and very similar to Neil Adams. And then, of course, inks by Dick Giordano, who was very good himself and did a lot of inking on Neil Adams' work. So here we have, and on the back cover, so you can see the whole thing like that. That's the villain, Carmang. And in the inside back cover is an article about the court battles between Fawcett and DC. So now we'll take an abbreviated look at the interior. Yeah, there we go. Down here, and of course, splash page. Not as dynamic, but it starts with a prologue. It's on Mars, and this villain, Carmang the Evil. This is the only time he was ever used. He was created specifically for this story, and the only time he was ever used. He was on planet Mars, and he is from a civilization that predates the Green Martians, like John Jones and those. and he's from a race that had disappeared ages past. And Carmang was he was a scientist. He was did some scientific experiment or something, which resulted in the destruction of his entire civilization, his entire race, except for himself. Then he turned to sorcery, and he was a good guy, and the result of all this stuff turned him into a villain. And he's got a plan to. It's going to bring back his people, but result in the destruction of Earth, Earth 1 and Earth S, to derive the energy needed to restore his civilization. And he uses his sorcery to pluck villains. Black Adam, who is an evil Captain Marvel, Shazam counterpart, and the Quarmer, who they don't use, DC doesn't use anymore. An extra-dimensional sand-like being who has all of Superman's powers, but is composed of coherent sand. And he coerces them, actually against their will, to help him. So here, get introduced to Superman and doing his super stunts. Now, this is kind of funny, because here's this guy has this fancy gizmo, and he, breaking into a baseball stadium to steal the gates. Now, if he was able to, this guy was able to engineer, design, and build this functioning flying gizmo with arms, enough power to bust in to steal the stuff, he could make more money than he could ever steal. That's so silly. Nice. I mean, again, artwork nice and dynamic. Boom. Superman takes out the guy. We've got behind the scenes stuff. I'm not going to go into all that stuff with Lois Lane and I've forgotten his name. The sportscaster, I've forgotten his name. Doesn't matter. Then things start happening, and Captain Marvel is attacking now. They had met once before in a Justice League episode, Justice League issue, but they were on the same side. They didn't fight. Here, it's Captain Marvel. Oh, they're going boom, boom, pow, 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 and meanwhile, Soup's realizing they're too similar, needs assistance. He uses super ventriloquism. Ventriloquism does not work this way. To contact Supergirl, and she takes off to help while Marvel seems to be down. He whips out this little gizmo which irradiates Soups, and while Soups is temporarily out of commission, it turns out it was Black Adam all the time. And Superman is in a rage and takes off to find Marvel. Then, interlude, more stuff. He's haunted by the phantoms of Carmang, is haunted by the phantoms of his people. They're actually in some kind of almost like a phantom zone. And then we're introduced to the real Captain Marvel on his Earth. The bridge is about to collapse. He stops that. He could have used him a little over a week ago in Baltimore. Mary Marvel happens to be right there too. She runs to assist so that they can temporarily prevent the bridge from collapsing, for everyone to get to safety, and then repair crews to get there and start doing what they do. And then something happens. He becomes Marvel again, because there he is as Billy Batson, and because he's being this gizmo is being set on the planet on their Earth by Superman, because this is the gizmo that's going to cause the two Earths to collide interdimensionally. So it's Superman versus Captain Marvel again. Boom, boom, boom. Fight, fight, fight. Marvel has to save the citizens. Then the same thing happens to Marvel that earlier happened to Superman. Brings out the Gizmo, zaps him, he's angry, and then it turns out that was the Cormer, not, of course, the real Superman. Another interlude, and he's monologuing about his evil plan and watching what's going on Earth. So here, right in the center, double page spread. Has a lot of like this in here, taking advantage of the larger space for a larger, more impactful image. Now, Superman and Captain Marvel actually go head to head. Boom. So the whole thing is just them fighting. Oh, that's a good image. I think that was used in some advertising stuff. And then Mary Marvel and Supergirl meet up. Said they don't want to fight, and they compare notes, and they both deduce that there must have been imposters because reasons, and they deduce it's the Cormer and Black Adam, and so they each go looking for the other's villain. While they're fighting, causing over the Niagara Falls, causing a blackout, and Carmang he's just elated. He can't imagine the adrenaline rush he's getting from watching this battle. Meanwhile, the girls are fighting. Supergirl finds Black Adam and a tomb in Egypt, looking for a magic staff, yada yada yada, and Mary Marvel finds the Cormer, hiding because he's a moral being. He did this against his will, and he's decided he was going to remain on the two Earths as they collapsed, and he would be destroyed himself. Well, with Supergirl gets hold of the magic staff and turns Black Adam back into his normal mortal form, and the Cormer tells Mary Marvel all that's what's going on, while the guys are fighting all over the world. And the two on each planet, there's the two gizmos, but they are protected. They can't be assaulted directly. So the girls go to Mars to confront the wizard there, but the wizard Shazam intercepts Mary Marvel and sends her on a side mission, while the boys are smash, fight. Supergirl has to go confront the evil wizard herself, but she is subject. Then Mary gets her. She is subject to vulnerable to magic when Mary is not so much, and fight, and then the thing starts to fade off as the time approaches, but they have to had to prolong the fight to keep the wizard occupied while the girls got there. So they're fighting, and Supergirl, while Mary is distracting the guy, Mary gets to the gizmo and managed to the controls. Well, the guys have made up. Their anger has been diffused, and so they talk about and know what's going on. Superman whisks around the world in some stupid manner that's supposed to shore up the magnetic field of the planet, diminish because stuff is happening. As the two planets, versions of Earth, approach one another through interdimensional space, causes earthquakes, natural disasters, etc. Gives Shazam a chance to actually attack and finally get through and destroy the machine. And then Supergirl hits the destruct button, and they whisk the girl away, and the whole shebang is exploded, and both Earths are saved, and Mary Marvel thinks Supes is cute, and thinks, oh, this is silly. So Supergirl does the same thing to Marvel, which shows Mary Marvel how silly it all was. And meanwhile, Carmang is defeated. And that's what we've got for Superman versus Shazam. Oh, it's a fun read. It's a fairly quick read, considering it's 72 pages. That's the length of a graphic novel. So, I hope you enjoyed this. So please like, share, and subscribe. And do leave a comment. And this did take a little longer than I had intended, but it's a bigger thing. So, that's what she said. So thank you very much. And leave your comments down below. Have you read this? Have you read other things? What do you think of Superman and Captain Marvel? All the good stuff. And remember, comics are art.